This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, December 13th show. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything when it comes to your money. I'm here to help you in today's economy. And if you're hearing my show at a different time of day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855 400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, I have Anton Cauthorn with Rehberg Law Group. And a little bit about Anton. Anton's been practicing in the arena of estate planning and tax for 4 years and holds a Juris Doctor degree from University of San Diego School of Law, where he graduated with honors and was a lead article editor for the San Diego Law Review. In addition, Anton has a Master's of Law degree in the area of tax law with a focus on estate planning and small business planning. Anton is a member of the Washington State Bar Estate and Gift Tax Committee and Q Law. Anton's practice focuses on estate planning, estate tax planning, small business planning, and works with couples in non-traditional relationships and special needs planning. Again, just very excited to have my conversation with Anton today. Considering how much information we can keep on computers and the internet, estate planning just isn't complete anymore without including digital assets, right?
That's correct. These days, you have to plan for your digital assets, and if you don't, it can completely destroy an estate plan that's carefully planned.
And you know, this is I've had a couple of my partners in your arena. First time that I've had you in studio, Anton. So I'm excited for this, but I've never had talked on this actual topic for estate planning. So let's explain to my listeners what digital assets are.
Digital assets are very different from traditional assets. Most of us are used to looking at assets such as a house, furniture, jewelry, antiques, financial accounts, bank accounts, retirement accounts. We're used to dealing with those sort of assets. In the estate planning world, the new type of asset are these digital assets. These are assets that are essentially things that are online, and they've been brought about by the computer age and the internet. It's been around for a while, but it's only recently that estate planning attorneys have really realized how important and critical it is to plan for these digital assets as part of your estate. The things we're really looking at are things like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, blogs, YouTube, eBay. These are all things we consider digital assets. Bank accounts you log into online.
Okay.
Each one of these is digital assets. Really what we're looking at, anything where you set up a password and a user account, that's a digital asset and something that we look at that could have value. And many of these actually do have monetary value. People these days will have blogs. They may be getting money off of their blog. They may have a YouTube account that has advertising revenue coming in.
Okay.
Things such as ebooks, videos, MP3s that you've stored, those may have value. And if you don't plan for those, you can lose those assets. Other digital assets may not have that monetary value, but they can have personal value. People may have their pictures stored on Facebook only. They may have their pictures stored in their iCloud.
Okay.
These are digital assets they have because it has a personal value to them and their family. So when we're looking at estate planning these days, we're not just looking at those traditional assets anymore. Like I said, the houses, the financial accounts. We're now also looking at the digital assets, things people have passwords and they have log-on information online. And we're looking into planning for those rather than just planning for the traditional assets alone.
So tie this in, Anton, about estate planning, a little bit of background of estate planning.
Yeah, so estate planning is really the planning not just for what happens after you pass away, but also what happens if you're incapacitated, you're in an accident, you get dementia, someone else has to look out for you. So estate planning is really a comprehensive plan for now while you're alive and you need help, and also for what happens when you pass away. And when you're doing estate planning, you're looking at a few different things. One of the most important things is picking someone to represent you when you can't. So if you're incapacitated, who's going to look after you? Who's paying your bills? Who's managing your financial accounts? When you pass away, who's going to manage your estate? Who's going to look through those bills again? Who's going to distribute those assets out to all the beneficiaries of your estate? The rest of your estate plan is planning where do assets go? What's going to happen after you're gone? Who gets what? How are they getting those assets?
Yep.
Now, today, most of us, we're not like the pharaohs of Egypt. We don't want to build a giant pyramid for ourselves and bury ourselves with all of our assets. That's not what happens anymore. There are people out there who actually, this really does happen, that want to be buried with their cell phones. So that's one asset that people
Are
have
you
now said.
serious?
Yeah, that's
Oh
really
my.
happening.
Really?
Yeah, and that's definitely a phone call I don't want to make or take, but people are doing that. So what we're really trying to do today, though, is we want to provide for our beneficiaries. We want to set things up so it'll be easy for them. We don't want them building the pyramid. We want them having the simplest process possible when they're settling an estate. In order to do that today, digital assets are a part of that plan. It's something you have to establish a plan for, so they really can have an ease of administration of the estate.
So, Anton, why should we plan for our digital assets and digital estate after death?
If you don't plan for those digital assets in your digital estate after death, you won't have the peace of mind and control that you get from creating an estate plan, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you haven't created that ease of estate plan for your beneficiaries and those who are going to come after you. One case we have heard of, and this is one of the bad ones, is so a mother had passed an iPad down to her son. So that was the asset she was leaving to her son. She had kept all of their family photos just on the iPad on the iCloud account. That's the only place they had stored of any of this information. So the son, he now has legal access to the iPad. It's his iPad, he can use it. However, the digital side, those digital assets, all those photos, all the information stored on that iPad was not his. She didn't pass that down to him. She didn't give him the password, no access information, so he couldn't log onto the iPad. Contacted Apple. Because of Apple's user license agreement, he has no right to get into her account. He has no way to access it.
Wow.
He fought them. What ended up happening was they wiped everything. He lost all those family photos. Nothing left. He had no access to them because she hadn't planned for the digital assets in her estate after she passed away. There's numerous cases of these things happening. There's people in the military who have sent emails back and forth between other people. Family members want to see these emails to see what was happening at the end of someone's life. They go to Yahoo, they go to Google, and they're refused access to those, and they can't see those end-of-life emails. So it's very important to get this planning in ahead of time. Other problems you can have if you don't plan for digital assets after you pass away, administration of the estate. Typically, when someone's administering an estate after someone's gone, we say, look at the mail, look for the bills coming in, because you can see what sort of bills somebody had, what sort of the assets they had by looking at the mail. The problem is now everyone has e-billing. Those bills aren't coming in through the mail. Now they're coming in through email. If you don't have access to those email accounts, you don't know what the bills are. So these are the reasons you want to make sure you plan for your estate after you pass away.
And, you know, it's just in your arena, and I know I'm not saying anything new to you, and I think it's just because it's, you know, we're talking about the final stages in our life, and so there's so much procrastination in this. And just really taking that step to get things taken care of and lined up now is so important. So if you want to talk with Anton, please pick up the phone, give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150, and we'll definitely connect you with Anton, or you can go online at themoneyhour.com. And what about planning? We've talked about the incapacity, and what should someone do to prepare their digital estate in case that they're in an accident, or if they end up facing dementia? What's your advice?
Yeah, in those cases, it's almost more important than planning your estate, because if something happens to you, you can't pay your bills. You may have credit card bills outstanding. You may have a mortgage outstanding. You may have an auto payment. If you have all of those out there and you have e-billing set up for those, it's very difficult for somebody to figure out what to do to pay those bills. Again, you want to make sure you've given them enough information so they can get in, log into those email accounts, find out what sort of bills you have. But almost more important is you want to make sure you have a good power of attorney put into place. With the power of attorney, you name somebody else to act for you when you're incapacitated. They can start managing those accounts. With digital assets, it's even more important. If someone tries to manage an online account that you have, they can be violating federal law by doing so. And so if they don't have authorization within your power of attorney, they can get in criminal trouble for doing this. So one thing to do, if you have a power of attorney, pull out the power of attorney, take a look at it, see if it has a provision in there for digital assets, giving your power of attorney the authority to look at digital assets. Important thing to do. If you don't have a power of attorney, good reason to go out there and get it taken care of. We typically say update your powers of attorney every 3 to 5 years. So if it's been that long.
Or any life change.
Yeah, any major life change is great to update those. And what you really want to do then, go in and talk to your attorney, have them review it, see if they have provisions for digital assets, and ask if they can put that in there to make sure your power of attorney does have that authority to manage those assets if they need to. And you can't.
And what can be lost if not planning for digital assets?
You can lose huge.
And we talked about, we've talked about a couple things, but
yeah, we already talked about the iPad where the son lost all of his mother's pictures, but it can be much worse than that. There's a slightly unrelated story, but I think it's very relevant here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is a digital currency. It exists only online. In order to access Bitcoin, you have to have a digital wallet. That digital wallet has a security password, and if you don't have that digital wallet, you can't get your Bitcoin. They're just gone. So a few years ago over in England, there's a student named James Howell. He managed to buy into Bitcoin when it was worth almost nothing. So he got 7,500 Bitcoins, almost no money. Now, in 2012, Bitcoin prices skyrocketed. He found out that his Bitcoins were worth over $4 million.
Oh my gosh.
Problem was he had lost his hard drive. He no longer had access to those assets. $4 million lost because he couldn't access those Bitcoins. So this wasn't in the estate planning arena, but imagine if that mother's iPad had have had the Bitcoin security key on it.
Yes, wow.
The son would have lost it completely. He would have been trying for hours, days, trying to figure out her password to get that $4 million worth of Bitcoin. The problem is if he couldn't get it, and he had told Apple that his mother passed away, they would have wiped the hard drive, it would have all been lost.
Oh my gosh.
So you can have giant financial hardship if people can't access those. Same thing can happen if someone has blogs, other accounts online where they're actually earning money from it. If you can't access those accounts, you can really lose the value of all of those accounts. So it's pretty important to make sure people know how to access those accounts if you pass away or if you're incapacitated to continue the revenue stream coming from those accounts.
Makes total sense. So Anton, what steps can my listeners take to prepare their digital asset?
One of the biggest things you can do to prepare for your digital estate is just start keeping an inventory. Most of us already keep a list of passwords somewhere, but you want to have a very thorough, comprehensive list of those passwords, logons, all those accounts that you work with.
Okay.
List out the financial institutions, any social networking, anything that you're using online. Keep a hard copy list somewhere that has password, logon information. So you really want to make sure that your representatives are able to access. What that means is they need to know where that list is, and you need to keep it updated. I typically recommend against giving that list to other people because one, it's not secure, and two, every time you update it, then you have to update their list. Keep the list yourself, let them know where that is. Now, with some websites, you may want to give family members immediate access. If you have somebody who helps you out with finances already, give them access to your banking online so they can help you with that too. If you have someone who's helping you with something else, give them access to those accounts because it just makes it simpler if they're going to help you out to already know how to get on there.
So you'd mentioned about Bitcoin. Are there any special things to do?
Yeah, with Bitcoin, it's a little bit different than some other digital assets. It really is a currency that exists only online. So it's a very important currency. If you have any Bitcoins, and there's a number of other currencies out there too. So if you've invested these, you want to make sure people really have the right to access those. Otherwise, they can completely disappear. The big keys with these is make sure somebody else knows where your information is. You can do a hard paper copy of your Bitcoin account. That way somebody can actually get to your wallet through the paper copy. It's a great thing to do. Make that paper copy. Let people know where it is. So even if your hard drive crashes, it's gone, they can get access to that. Another thing you can do is if you're not quite so sure you trust people, you can do a multi-party transaction with Bitcoin, which means you give 3 or 4 other people a portion of an account information. When they all come together, they can actually get into the account. Make sure these are trusted people, of course. If you're giving it to untrustworthy people, they could come together and get your Bitcoin. But if you really do trust them, give them that information and tell them if something happens, these are the people to contact. Then they can use those 4 pieces to put them together, get the single piece and access those Bitcoins. So
you as one of my listeners, estate planner, are they giving you access to, as their representative, to all of their digital assets? So access to get in?
Typically, as the estate planning attorney, we're not looking to see access to get into these digital assets.
Okay.
Yeah. We would prefer just to let them keep that on their own. We'll help them create a plan to create a list where to do it. Let know, but we don't actually want to have that information about their digital assets. That's something that their personal representative should be looking after.
So I've heard online afterlife companies, should my listeners think about contacting one to help their digital estate?
Yeah, with afterlife companies, we do see people using those. We say exercise caution if you're going to do so. What we've seen is that some of these companies, they are internet, they're online companies, and we all know what happens with the internet. These companies go out of business. So if you're going to spend time and money investing in one of these to manage your accounts after you pass away, do a little bit of research. Make sure it's going to be a viable company. It's going to be around as long as you are, because you may live a number of more years. And if that company doesn't live as long as you, it's not going to be a valuable investment of your time and money to protect your estate. The better solution, make sure you keep that list of your accounts and make sure you let your personal representative know and update those powers of attorneys and wills to make sure they have the provisions necessary so that people can manage your digital assets after you're gone.
Makes total sense. What an interesting topic. And I'm just so excited that this was something we decided to talk about today. And I've learned a lot as the host of the Money Hour. Sometimes you think you know everything because I'm bringing in experts and talking about all of this, but I didn't. So I'm definitely got my checklist of things that need to get taken care of. Anton, thank you again so much for visiting me in studio and sharing your wealth of information with my listeners. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And this is your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, signing off for the day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, or enjoy the rest of your Sunday if you're listening to the rebroadcast of my show. And guaranteed I will be here next week, same time, same place, right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW.